Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for the things that you need to stop and or shop for. And you are here at the perfect time, dear customer, because we've just gotten a shipment of some Meowth eggs. They're incubating out back, ready to be taken up by a responsible trainer such as yourself, or even an irresponsible trainer, because the only thing that we discriminate by here at Team PokeMart is your ability to pay money. But there's Cantonian, Alolan, and even Galerian forms available of Meowth, so you quite literally get your pick of the litter. Now, if this idea isn't quite grabbing you, then might I give you some insight on these feisty little fur things, because I might just convince you to take one home, or maybe all three. Then you could be the crazy Meowth lady that you've always dreamed of. But before we get right into it, upper management has informed me that I am not pushing the promotional subscribe buttons enough. So please do consider pressing this button. I have numbers that I need to make, and I don't want upper management breathing down my neck. It's really creepy when they do that, and I think it's technically harassment. But not only would you be saving my hide, you'd also be able to receive regular updates whenever we make a new video, including updates on our new stock, discussion videos, and even promotional top 10s. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you want to or not, which you most certainly do. But for now, let me tell you a bit about Meowth. Meowth is a cat-like Pokemon first introduced to us in Generation 1. For the most part, it resembles a normal Siamese cat, cream in color with black ear markings and brown toes. Meowth's tail is curled at the end and has the same brown tips. It has two snaggle-teeth fangs sticking out of its mouth and large feline-esque eyes. However, what makes Meowth less like a normal cat is its choice of bling, sporting a golden medallion on its forehead. This is in fact a koban, a Japanese coin from the Edo period, which brings us to the main inspiration behind Meowth's design, being the Maneki Neko, or lucky cat for all of us uncultured Westerners. The Maneki Neko is a Japanese statue that is believed to bring good luck to its owner. You've probably seen one at your local Asian food outlet, and nowadays they have a fun mechanical paw which bobs up and down, kind of like it's at a concert, really feeling that music. And in fact, in Meowth's official artwork, its paw is up and curled, much like that of the Maneki Neko statue. And as such, Meowths take great care of their coin and always make sure that it is nice and shiny by regularly washing it. The similarities do not stop there though, as Meowth has the ability to produce coins by using the move Payday, which is more than likely how Team Rocket managed to afford anything despite being the abysmal failures they are. And the Meowth line is the only natural one that can actually learn Payday, however it can be taught to many other Pokemon. The Pokedex entries for Meowth all point to this little champ wandering the streets at night, being nocturnal in the wild, as well as looking for coins and other shiny circular things as it simply adores them. And when it sees a shiny object it likes, the coin on its head will shine too. It's not visible at all times, but Meowth also has claws which will deploy and retract, much like a normal cat creature. But if it wants to sneak around at night, then it keeps them fully retracted to ensure that it makes no sound. Cantonian Meowths can be pricks every now and then, and they are in fact known to pick fights with Murkrow over the prey that they are trying to catch. And it may also be worth mentioning that it is heavily suggested that Cantonian Meowths dislike Galerian form Meowths. We'll get into those soon. At level 28, Meowth then evolves into a Persian, the classy cat Pokemon. Persian has a lot of similarities with Meowth, but the main difference is its body, which is now more realistic and feral looking. It's completely lost its brown markings, but does maintain its tail curl. Furthermore, its ears have become larger, more rounded, and its whiskers now stay only on its cheeks, as opposed to the two that pointed upwards on the Meowth. The gold coin once possessed on its forehead is now replaced with a shiny red jewel. Sadly, because of this, the Persian had become a valued target for hunters, who would make a rather pretty penny from selling its jewel, or rather than sell it, they may keep it as a trophy to remind themselves that they are indeed the scum of the earth. Persian has become a popular pet Pokemon due to its undeniable elegance, though it is a fairly hard Pokemon to tame. It likes to scratch with absolutely no provocation whatsoever, so I definitely advise that you, at the very least, get a scratching post of some kind, which we do have in stock here at Team PokeMart at our usual extortionate prices. Much like Meowth, this Pokemon has claws that it will retract to slink around silently in order to catch its prey. And it also tends to go all out on prey, ripping and shredding it for no reason, because nature, I guess, and it's a cat. And as such, taming one of these would be the sign of a truly patient and strong-willed trainer. And actually, a top tip for would-be trainers would be to hold its whiskers when it misbehaves. There's no need to yank though, simply grabbing its whiskers will stop any extremely vicious Persian in its tracks, suddenly transforming it into the most calm and docile of Pokemon. Now let's have a look at the Alolan form of Meowth, and rather than being a normal type, Alolan Meowth is now a dark type. The biggest difference in color is obviously Meowth's fur, which is now a light indigo color. Its whiskers appear more curved, and its eyes really give you that smug, rich kid vibe that most minor anime antagonists seem to have. This is very fitting though, as Meowth were originally brought to Alola as a gift to the royal family from Kanto, and once taking up residence in Alola, they were spoiled absolutely rotten. So much so that they became snobbish, cunning, and full of pride in their Alolan form. And now they're everywhere in Alola, kind of like a pest really. And the spoiled nature of this Pokemon can really be seen if its forehead coin is blemished in any way. In fact, should you even get a speck of dirt on it, Alolan Meowth will work itself into a crazed, hysterical rage. Absolute crybaby. It should be thankful that it has a coin in the first place and it doesn't have to work in retail. But things get significantly worse once it eventually evolves, because here we have Garfield. Seriously, look at this thing. I mean, do you remember how elegant and sophisticated Kanto Persian looked? Well, Alolan Persian doesn't quite fit that aesthetic. I mean, the body is relatively the same, just a different color, but the face, that face, great. Arceus, what happened? Overfeeding, that's what happened. Because of Alolan Meowth being raised so spoiled and getting everything that they want, the Persian part of this evolution line preemptively took on a chubby face. And somehow this newfound chonk is admired by the people of Alola. So much so that they say the bigger the Persian's face is, the more beautiful it is. And I suppose a plump-faced Persian is something of a status symbol, as it would be the sign of a wealthy trainer. Persian does still have its forehead jewel, only this time it is bright blue. And while it is made of the same properties as Kanto's Persian, there is not much information regarding whether Alolan Persian is hunted for the jewel or not. Its fur is described as being nicer than Kanto's Persian, with the Pokedex saying that it is softer than the most high-class velvet, which does admittedly sound quite delightful, but it still looks stupid. I mean, come on, we went from this to this. And you know, I'm starting to realize that the world just does not get better with time. And with that, we move on to Galerian Meowth. So just as with Alola, Meowth gets another regional form in Generation 8, which looks simply feral. And the story of how these crazy little scruffs came to be is that they hitched rides with savage seafaring people, most likely Vikings, and toughened up to the point that parts of its fur even turned to iron, making this form of Meowth a steel type and presenting the most stark of contrasts to its pampered Cantonian and Alolan relatives. And this thing certainly does look tough. It is covered in unruly, dirty brown fur and sports a beard that essentially covers its whole body. Its eyes are huge and yellow now with smaller pupils, making it look like it had way too much coffee, or insert recreational substance of your choice. Its whiskers, once thin and dainty, are now matted chunks of fur, with its forehead whiskers resembling horns on either side of its coin, which is now black. And you know, amongst Galerian Meowth there is a saying, the darker the coin, the harder it is. Take that as you will. And I suppose if one had the darkest coin, then it would mean that you were the most respected Meowth in all the lands. So it's pretty easy to see why Galerian and Cantonian Meowth don't much care for one another. And now for Galerian Persian. Or not, because there is no Galerian Persian. What's most interesting about the Galerian Meowth is that it seems to have completely abandoned its roots and instead taken this line in a whole nother direction. So meet Berserker, the Viking Pokemon. Compared to Persian, Berserker seems to have kept its shape fairly similar to Meowth's, and it chooses to stay on 2 legs as opposed to all 4. Its coin takes another change, turning completely silver and morphing into its head, almost resembling a Viking helmet. However, this is just super hard and apparently somehow luxuriously smooth hair. On either side of its head are horns tipped with iron, its beard has grayed in color and stands out against the natural brown of its body. On its wrists and ankles are black fuzzy cuffs, which have hardened into natural armor. So not only are its limbs hardened, but its claws have grown longer and harder because harder is gooder, and they form together to create a strong black dagger. And just like Vikings, Berserkers believe in the glory of battle and thrive off it, and as such their personalities tend to be barbaric and savage to match. Sadly, there isn't too much information on these guys since they are a fairly new addition to the Pokedex, so consider this a bit of a mystery box. Perhaps you could purchase one of the Galerian Meowth eggs for yourself that we have here at Team PokeMart and discover the crazed nature of a Berserker for yourself. But with the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, those who pre-ordered the game were given a bonus of a special Cantonian Meowth who can Gigantamax. And let's just say he is a long boy. Standing at a whopping 108 feet, the Gigantamax Meowth's main change in appearance is of course its elongated stomach and glowing yellow eyes. Its coin gains some kind of symbol on it, though I'm unsure of what it means. Some say it is the key to unlocking the secrets of Dynamaxing, since it can emit lots of Gigantamax power. And this coin also seems to emit a golden glam which covers the area. Now, as with other Gigantamax Pokemon, it has a ring of red danger clouds circling its upper body, and only its upper half, indicating just how high up it is. It is so far the only Gigantamax Pokemon to be able to use the Gigantamax move, G-Max Gold Rush, which will damage and greatly confuse the opponent, whilst also scattering delightful coins across the ground for the winner to pick up post-battle. Plus, its insatiable lust for all things shiny and expensive is tenfold, and it is also known to use skyscrapers as scratching posts in order to sharpen its massive, terrifying claws. Now, as for prominent appearances of the Meowth line, we do of course have the obvious trifecta, that is Team Rocket. In fact, one of the most impressive, in fact probably the only impressive factor about Jesse and James is their Meowth, who much like Ash's Pikachu does not can't stay inside a Pokeball. That aside, their Meowth is also able to speak fluent English in a lovable Brooklyn accent. A nice little reference to the stereotypical accent sported in old gangster movies, linking Meowth to his varied criminal activities. Now, you may have been wondering how Team Rocket's Meowth came to speak like a human in the first place. I know I've certainly googled that before after forgetting the anime events as a child, and well, it's because of another Meowth named Meowsy. Somehow in the Pokemon anime, Hollywood is a canon place, and Team Rocket's Meowth is originally from there, spending a lot of his youth alone and starving. However, he was taken in by a wild gang of Meowth led by a Persian. Then one day while stealing food, he spotted Meowsy, a Meowth who was clearly not wild, as she was adorned with ribbons, and ribbons and wild simply don't match. Regardless, Meowth was in love. Although Meowsy then told him straight up that she loves her human owner because she provided her with lots of things, and you see Meowsy liked things. So then it became Meowth's mission to become more human-like. And so he extraordinarily impressively, I might add, learned to walk and talk like a human, only for Meowsy to shut him down and call him a freak. But unfortunately, the Poke-simping does not stop there. When revisiting Hollywood, Meowth discovered that Meowsy's owner ran out of money and left her on the streets to fend for herself. Meowsy was also taken in by the same gang, and whilst Meowth did try to save her, she denies him again, claiming that Persian looked after her when she was kicked out and it wouldn't be right to leave him. And then she called Meowth a freak again. However, this episode did showcase the tight friendship between Jessie, James, and Meowth. It's clear that they don't see him as just a Pokemon, but as their friend and fellow comrade in incompetence. How sweet, sort of. Meanwhile, Team Rocket's boss, Giovanni, owns a Persian, and Meowth is jealous of it, wanting nothing more than to become the top cat and replace Persian. So basically, Meowth's ultimate dream is to leave the only two people in this world who accept him for what he is, just for those sweet, sweet Giovanni pats. Furthermore, in Pokemon Yellow, which throws in some references from the anime here and there, Giovanni will use a Persian in all of his battles. This doesn't carry over completely in the Let's Go titles, as it is only a member of Giovanni's team in the first two battles. Some more fun facts about the Meowth line. Very interestingly, Meowth has been featured on actual currency. Niue, an island country in the South Pacific, whose name I'm probably butchering, released a set of $1 coins which featured Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Charmander, Pikachu, and of course the ever glorious Meowth. Out of all the Dark-type Pokemon, Alolan Meowth has the lowest base attack stat, which does make a lot of sense because they do spend more time eating than they do battling, or anything else really. Lazy, pampered Alolan Meowth. Meanwhile, Mankey is seen as a counterpart to Meowth, given that Meowth is a version exclusive to Pokemon Blue, Silver, and Let's Go Eevee. Mankey was only available on Red, Gold, and Let's Go Pikachu. Both Persian and Meowth have the same Pokedex entry number in the Alola Pokedex as in the National Dex, which is 52 and 53 respectively. Now, despite being named Persian, this Pokemon's design is almost certainly based more on Siamese cats, since Persians tend to be much more fluffy and don't have the same sort of markings. And finally, a truly useless fact, Berserker may be based on the two cats gifted by Thor himself that pulled Freya's chariots in Norse mythology. And apparently the names of those cats are Beigel and Truggle. And well, we did it. This has been an extensive look at the entire Meowth line. I think that aside from Eevee, this may be one of the only other Pokemon to have quite so many forms and evolutions. I mean, when you really think about it, perhaps it is us who have been spoiled by all of the different kinds of Meowth across the various lands. I mean, who knows what other regional forms there are out there, but I am certainly excited to find out. But you know what? I'm even more excited to sell you one of our Meowths as quickly as possible in order to meet my weekly quota. But please do make sure to stop by Team PokeMart and say hi, which you can do in the comments below. And if you're interested in some of our other merchandise, then please do click these tantalizing links over here. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for regular updates of our new stock. But for now, this has been Team PokeMart, and I'll see you next time.